Welcome to HEA's Hypno Connect, the podcast by the Hypnosis Education Association. Real conversations, expert insights, and meaningful connection. Brought to you by HypnoBiz in a Box, the ultimate all-in-one hypnosis business platform. Let's get to it.
So again, super excited to hear about this, and thank you so much for joining us, Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me. So I am going to, if it's okay, I'm going to go ahead. I see something in the chat here. Hi, my friend, she said she's in the waiting room. Was that
That would have
perhaps?
been Sue. Awesome. Welcome, Sue.
Okay,
We're
Sue,
glad to
welcome, Sue. Thanks for joining today. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm just going to go on and get started here.
All right.
Let's do
So
it.
that was a great introduction, by the way. So I'll just tell you a little bit more about me very, very briefly, because that introduction was fantastic. I am busy, blessed to have a very busy practice, and I am located in South Florida, but I live in South Florida, but I travel frequently, and I work and coach and speak about this topic all over the world. I love working with families and teens and kids. And just today, I mean, neurodiverse folks are really a very, very wonderful part of my practice. And like Sean said, there's a huge need out there. We're going to see who falls into this category of neurodiversity in a moment. But just today, for example, I just got off a call right before this with a client that is what I like to call them neuro awesome. I also really, really sometimes like to use a term that's called twice exceptional. And this particular client that I just was working with today, I actually worked with two neurodiverse clients today. And this young lady is 17 years old, and she's what I would call twice exceptional, which means that she's very gifted and very bright, and also she's on the autism spectrum. And what we were doing today was overcoming a very traumatic experience that she had had with a family member. And that's, it's amazing to work with these clients. As it says here, I work with many people with ADHD, autism, and as you're going to see, there's a lot of people that fall under this banner. And they are definitely a population. My neurodiverse clients are literally, I'm passionate, very, very passionate about this population. And they are all those things. They are beloved to me. It's a very fulfilling thing to do, to work with somebody, because a lot of these people have very, very, very low self-esteem. There's a lot going on in the schools right now that is negative. There's challenges within families of people who are neurodiverse. There's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of layers and a lot of ways that we can help our clients. And can be a wonderful part of your practice as well. So this is an interesting statistic. It is estimated that 1 in 5 people would fall under this category of being neurodiverse. And as you can see, in the next slide, you might see some surprises on who would be considered part of this community. But everyone really is neurodiverse, if you think about it, because everyone's brain is unique. Everyone has a family of origin. Everybody has a culture that they're from. Everybody has genetic memory and generational memory that shapes their brain and their development, that just shapes everything about their brain, really. Everything that we experience shapes our brain, because our brain is an algorithmic organ. It's a complex organ that is plastic, as you know. And so everyone's experience is unique, and therefore everyone's brain is unique. So you could say maybe 100% of people are neurodiverse, because everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and that's great. And that helps us grow and learn from each other. And people experience and interact with the world in many, many different ways. Now, this is a list of some examples of neurodiverse people. And you might find that there's some surprises there. Gifted people, people with talents and genius abilities, special interests. Entrepreneurs are considered neurodiverse. They are often have some of these other, fall under some of these other categories as well. They tend to be out of the box thinkers. Definitely, these are people that you may or may not have encountered already in your practice. You probably have, you may not have known that because a lot of people are not even aware themselves of their own neurodiversity. And a lot of times they're coming to you with issues around self-esteem or confidence or anxiety. And this might be comorbid with some of the things that they're experiencing. So as you look down this list, I would love to hear from you if these are people that you have. Just go ahead and unmute yourselves, and I'd love to hear from you if you or anybody that you know or anybody that you love or anybody that you have served falls into this category.
Well, I'm the entrepreneur's hypnotherapist. So there you go. That's what I
There you
do.
go. So the
I don't-
entrepreneur's hypnotherapist, you're going to encounter a lot of ADHD
Definitely.
because entrepreneurs, actors, creative people tend to have this different kind of a brain, which is wonderful. Anybody else have experience or find that this is something that they've experienced or that they have clients that they're attracting? And if you're working in the addiction field, you're definitely attracting neurodiverse clients, particularly those ADHD is very, very common. There's a high percentage of people with ADHD, untreated ADHD, who end up with substance abuse issues. There's a lot of comorbid things that happen to people who are not diagnosed or underdiagnosed or in denial about these things. All right, so just move on. So I think it's really very, very important for people to understand that being neurodiverse is not a disability, it's not a brokenness, it's not a defect. It's a difference. It's a wonderful difference. And I often refer to my clients to them. I will often tell them because they very often are coming to you because they have anxiety and low self-esteem. And they have been told that there's something wrong with them. Why can't they, why are they like that? Why are they like that? They hear that a lot. What's wrong with you? They might get bullied or teased a lot for being different. And so they very often have a self-concept that they are less than, that they are broken, that they are defective, that they are disabled, et cetera, et cetera. And the truth is, it's quite the opposite. I consider neurodiversity to be a superpower. To me, they are superhumans. They have abilities that are, they have what I would call superpowered nervous systems. And so the first thing that I want to install in a neurodiverse client is I want to check in on their self-concept, their self-belief, because very often it's very, very low. And I explain to them that you're actually a superior, not an inferior person. And to using this term of being neuro awesome, they typically respond really, really well. It gives them a little bit of a smile. They've never heard that before. They've never heard anybody say that you're actually and we have to be careful about this because we don't want to, we don't want people to get a superiority complex, but it is true that their brains and their nervous systems are hypersensitive because they're more efficient and they really have superpowers. So I'm sharing this slide as just an example. I have many, 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 many stories, but this is one of my favorites. This young lady still works with me. She's now 16. I've been working with her since she was about 10. And until she was 13, she never had a birthday party because she had no friends. And this is something that happens to a lot of neurodiverse people. They suffer from a lot of social anxiety. They just think differently. They have sensory issues a lot. And sometimes they struggle with social cues. And they do experience a lot of rejection. So in this particular case, as I said, I was attracting a lot of neurodiverse teens at the time, and they all had similar interests. So I curated a social group for them. And out of that, this was the first time, as you can see, that Danica at 13 had her first birthday with other kids. And those 3 kids are still, not only they still friends, but this girl, Danica, her confidence at 16, her special interest is music, and she's extremely, extremely gifted, very exceptionally gifted as a singer. And she's an opera singer, and she's nailing everything. She's getting every part. I use her as an example for other people in my practice. She's just really, really, she's changed so much for the better. And it's just amazing. It's so, as I said, it's beyond fulfilling to see the transformations that can happen when you learn how to work with these clients. And it not only changes their life, it changes their family as well. So these are some of the common issues that come up around neurodiversity, some of the issues that they are experiencing that we can absolutely help them and really make a huge difference in their lives and the lives of their families as well. And you can see there's a long list. I would say self-esteem, anxiety, trauma. The client that I just worked with before I got on the call, as I mentioned, we cleared a trauma for her that involved I would say abuse of parental trauma. And I'm hoping, I have been working with her for several months. This particular client has non-epileptic seizures and had formerly been really not leaving the house and not having any social life because she was so afraid that she was going to have a seizure in public. So helping her go out and live her life. She's living her life. She has a boyfriend now. She's getting out and doing fun things. And her seizures, although they are still, and I'm hoping that, dealing with the PTSD and the trauma, I'm hoping that that might have an impact. But she's not afraid to go and live her life. She's accepted that she has this, and she's having really best days all the time now. And once in a while, she has a seizure, but it's not stopping her from living a great life. And she understands now that she has a bright future, that she's very special. She's actually going to be coming down to Florida to be an apprentice. She loves, she's an artist, but she also loves fashion and hair. So she's going to be coming down to Florida to work as an apprentice with my hairdresser. So these are the kind of things that I like to set up for people. So social skills, confidence. This client also is a great example of she's able to talk to people now without feeling overwhelming anxiety. She can trust herself to know what to do and say when she's talking to people. She can make friends now. Now Danica, going back to Danica, the girl from the other example, Danica started high school last year, and for the first time at 16 had a friend group. Now she has friends. Now she's part of the theater program at school. She's starring in one of the school shows now. It's just like amazing, amazing transformation. So managing sensory overload, impulsivity, listening, meltdowns are a huge issue for many of our neurodiverse folks. We can help them manage that. Time management, organization, overthinking, overwhelm, another huge issue for our ADHD folks. Distraction, another great example, another great win. I worked with a 10-year-old boy, very, very severe ADHD, and he, using hypnosis, he needed to go shadow at several different private schools. They're really, really picky. It's really hard to get into these private schools now. And so using hypnosis, I taught him how to keep his body still, how to focus all of his attention on the teacher's voice. And he got into all 4 of the schools. He was waitlisted for one, but the school that he wanted the most of all, he was accepted to, and that's where he's going to be going. And the family is just so grateful. It's like magic, you can really make such a huge difference. You can also give these kids a sense of control. And people who are neurodiverse make incredible subjects. I mean, they're so suggestible. They're so amazing. You can help them with their relationships, with their communication, with decision making, careers. A lot of times they get these messages that they can't, they're dependent and they won't have a bright future and they won't have a career. And I just refuse with my clients to buy into any of that bullshit. I mean, it's just not true. They're the best, they have these special interests, and we can harness their special interests and their energy and their focus. And, they're just the best. You want these people in your company. They're just the best employees ever. So we want to inspire them. And another young man that I work with who's also just turned 17, and there's a lot to talk about with family dynamics. I'm probably not going to get into today, but that's a huge issue and a huge topic. Helping them through these family dynamics. Well, this family really had this attitude that, he was going to be dependent on them forever. And I was like, no, this kid has a bright future. He's brilliant. He's going to go to college. He's going to get a job. And I asked him, what do you want in your future? And let's make sure that you get it. He wants to get married. He wants to have kids. He wants to have a job. He wants to be an animator. Like, why not? Let's empower people to have the bright future that they deserve and not limit them. There's no reason that they have to have any limits. So these are the common characteristics and strengths that make these clients ideal. They're very, very imaginative. They're creative. They tend to be very often, depending on, kind of neurodiversity they have, particularly the ADHD clients tend to be very friendly, outgoing. There's a lot of giftedness and their emotions. They're very, very sensitive. They have the superpower of these really, really finely tuned nervous systems. And they tend to be very, very powerful at their own suggestions. They tend to be very powerful at hypnotizing themselves into believing that they should be anxious or worried and creating these unbelievable scenarios for themselves about what if this happens, what if they're really, really powerful. They have powerful minds. And we can turn that power into suggesting that they are calm, relaxed, and in control, and it makes a huge impact and puts them in control. And when you're in control, it's hard to be anxious when you feel in control and empowered. So neurodiversity is more, not less. And we want to empower our clients really to embrace and envision their potential, because they have so very much of it, really. And step one, the first thing that we want to do with our clients and with their families is psychoeducation. We want to empower yourself and your individual and family clients. Teach them that this is not something that is just them. They're not broken. And teach them about how the brain works. Teach them in the anatomy of the brain, and teach them about the common things that happen to people who have their flavor of neurodiversity. It's really empowering. Education is so very, very empowering. It's very important to understand that neurodiversity, in its name, I mean, it's diversity. It shows up in many different ways. There's lots of kinds. That list that I showed you is so incomplete. And it's also ADHD, people are all unique. People with autism are all unique. People on, people with sensory or learning issues, whatever. It's unique for them. It's their unique way of being, and it's beautiful. But it's important that we have the nimbleness and the ability to move seamlessly and effortlessly and switch things up and just be really, really intuitive. That's my superpower, I think, is having a lot of tools. And you can have a plan, but just be willing to trust yourself and know that you have lots of tools and you can just switch back and forth and be nimble and quick and intuitive with these clients is super, super important. You want to get to know your client very, very well. Take time, and you want to build that rapport. For neurodiverse clients, trust is everything because they live in a world where they find it hard to trust people. There's a lot of They find it hard to trust themselves. It's hard for them to trust their family. There's so much uncertainty in the world. You want to show up with unconditional love and just, make them feel really, really, really safe and really heard and really get them to trust you so they can start to share with you how their particular flavor is showing up for them, what's working for them, what are the issues, and you want to really, really listen for understanding and really build that trust. And they're going to open up to you like a flower, and it's just going to be amazing. It's very important for you to be confident in your tools and trust yourself that you can and make a difference. Sometimes I don't know how I'm going to help my client. I don't know exactly. I tend to have a plan and it almost always goes sideways, and I just trust myself. So it's important to practice your tools and be really, really, like I said, very nimble with them and trust yourself. I talk to my clients about something I call being an adversity warrior, reminding them how much they've accomplished with and because of their difference. It's a resource state for them, and it's really to accept and appreciate and love your system and your body and the way your brain shows up for you. These are some of the things that I use. I really like to start out with a new client with installing self-belief and self-trust. I use Bubble, which it's basically zipping them into a safety bubble. It's an energy technique that I learned that works really, really well. Tapping is fantastic. I'm an IEMT practitioner. I use a lot of eye movement. I use a ton of NLP techniques. And of course, depending on the situation and the sensitivity of the person, sometimes we do need to get to the root cause and rewire it. Maybe change out the memory for something better, or, talk to their parts, use parts therapy. There's just so many, many ways. All of these ways I've used, and they all work phenomenally well. It's important for people to understand that no matter what your brain looks like, anybody can learn. I'm reminded of a story. I have a background in school psychology, and I also was a classroom teacher, K through 8. So I literally got to watch developmental stages unfold in front of my eyes, which is amazing training for me. But I studied with another school psychologist, and he used an example of a boy who was basically a vegetable. And they sent this boy to a special school where every day they would just, consistent effort over time, they would just keep teaching him how to hold the spoon, teaching him how to hold the spoon, teaching him how to hold the spoon. And over several, it took time and aggressive patience, but it's just a great example of how even somebody with a damaged brain can learn and grow because our brains are plastic, they're algorithmic. And if we use consistent effort over time, we build those neural pathways. And this little boy who really couldn't do anything, after I think 3 or 4 years, they'd gotten him to like a 4-year-old or 5-year-old level. And it was just that consistent effort over time. And it's just proof that when you teach people how they learn and they understand that every time you do something, every time you repeat an activity, you build another neuron in their brain and it's exponential growth. So every time you practice something, you're going to double the number of teeny tiny little neurons. And if you keep doing it long enough, you're going to build this unshakable wall, this unshakable neural pathway, and you're going to achieve mastery. Most people don't know that. Most people try something a few times, they don't succeed right away, and then they give up really early on, and then they get beliefs about themselves. I'm just the kind of person that can't ... And so with our neurodiverse clients, we want to teach them the neurology of how we learn and that they can learn anything with consistent effort over time. It's really very inspiring for them. It's breaking down those self-limiting beliefs, teaching them the neurology of how we learn. So just some quick training on what we can do to deal with some of the common issues that crop up for our neurodiverse folks. So with social skills and anxiety, I use a lot of role play, and I'm an artist, a performing artist, so an actor. I teach acting still. I teach singing and acting and all those things. And so for me, it's very natural. Role play is super easy and natural for me. And I really encourage you to get, if you're not comfortable with role play, get comfortable with it because it's one of the most powerful techniques that you can use to help all clients, but especially our neurodiverse folks. Neuro awesome people, we want to, I explain it to them that you guys are amazing. You can navigate through neurodiverse metaverse and neurotypical metaverse. You guys can do it all. You're just incredible. So, using metaphors and vocabulary that is fun and that they can relate to is really helpful. Teach them that they can learn anything, even social skills, with consistent effort over time. Using visual aids is great. I'm addicted to it. I have like 6 whiteboards, maybe 7. Like I'm constantly drawing silly pictures for them. I let them draw pictures on my whiteboard. They love it. This next one, teaching them how to find their people, how to recognize their people and or provide social settings. This was the Danica story, providing social settings where they are free to express their interests without judgment or shame. I do a camp in the summer called a camp for Neuro Awesome Teens. And last summer I did this. There was only 3 kids in the camp. And one of my clients, I mentioned before, the 17-year-old boy, he was in it. And, for the first time, a girl held his hand and he felt loved by a girl. And it was platonic, but it was like they hugged him and they said, "We're your friends." And they celebrated his special interests instead of telling him he was weird or too much I mean, that may have been the first time in his life where he felt accepted. And so I'm a little emotional, like talking about how life-changing it is. If you can create these settings for people, you've literally changed somebody's world forever, and they will grow from that. Teach them calming strategies that they can do on their own. Make sure that they walk away able to do these calming strategies. Using direct suggestion NLP to use before social situations. Just simply teach them 7-Eleven breathing, and install that in hypnosis, that whenever use NLP to install what, know what their triggers are, and install, do the swoosh technique and install, a state of confidence, and teach them how to use breathing techniques and, tapping, all these things. Give them ways to self-soothe, give them anchors, all these kind of things. Just looking at the time. Overwhelm is a very, very, very big deal for many of us. Maybe you have experienced it yourself. The client that I was working with this morning before I got on the call with my neurodiverse girl also has neurodiversity. She has ADHD. She's a 57-year-old woman. She has ADHD, and she experiences a lot of self-esteem issues, a lot of overwhelm, and that's a huge deal. It can be very paralyzing. She's been feeling very stuck. And so we got her unstuck today, and she's moving and grooving in her business, making money today. So that's fantastic. Again, an entrepreneur with ADHD, neurodiverse. We want to install being present in the moment so they can let go of worrying about what they didn't accomplish and what they cannot accomplish. Focus on the now. These are some amazing ways. Again, hearkening back to the previous slide, these are techniques they can do on their own. Breathing, tapping, the thumb squeeze, anchors, a secret handshake is something that I taught her today, the secret handshake. This is an anchor that her parts, we changed her parts from the, today she had a comparison part. We changed that to the courage part. She had I'm not enough part. We changed that to a cheerleader, and we use this as an anchor. They're not going to let go of her until they know she's safe, and then they let go. These are some great techniques. Install being in the present moment in hypnosis. Very, very powerful. Impulsivity. Focusing on our feelings, not our thoughts. When you're starting to feel impulsive, we have a lot of impulsivity with some of our clients. We want to train them under hypnosis to practice or rehearse freezing and thinking, recognizing an impulsivity as a feeling. Like there's a certain feeling I get when I feel impulsive. Teaching them to recognize that feeling, and under hypnosis, installing a system where they feel that feeling and they freeze and they stop before they do something impulsive. And then using direct hypnosis, we train them. I'm going to freeze. I'm going to think about, I know what I want to do, but what do I choose to do? And installing these gaps between having the impulse and acting on it. And anchor in this, I love being in control. I love having that gap between wanting to do something and actually doing it. And I love this feeling of in control. It makes me feel very, very powerful. So that's a really fantastic way. Teaching them that they're in control, teaching them to change their state and their emotions so that they can grow their emotional equilibrium and their control using breathing, posture, direct suggestion. This is one of my favorite things to do, harnessing the power of the brainstem, the reticular activation system that's part of our brainstem. I'm using this phrase, teaching them this phrase, and this is the phrase that helped my little 10-year-old with shadowing and not being impulsive and not being hyperactive at those 4 schools. I'm focusing my attention. I'm focusing all my attention on. That's a direct command to both your unconscious and to your brainstem, and it literally wires your brain to focus only on that one thing at a time. Time management. Again, something that I installed just today with my client, teaching them the WIN strategy, a strategy that I teach, a 3-item to-do list, teaching them to do one thing at a time, figuring out how long it'll take. It's a little hard for me to get into all the details, but all these things I talk about in my training, which I'm going to share a link to. And by the way, I do get into more detail. I have a free training that I'm going to share the link for in the chat, and I'll get into a little bit more detail into some of these techniques. But we want to install and rehearse everything in hypnosis. It's very, very powerful, and using role play and hypnosis, even conversational hypnosis. It doesn't have to be, laying back in your chair. So, I think we're making pretty good time here. So this is just a little overview of some of the things we've learned, and then we can open up for some questions. I love to answer questions. As you can see, I hope you can tell I'm very passionate about this topic and about these clients. And I hope to help you become so as well. So there's many, many clients that need your help. They're everywhere. They are diverse. They're exciting. It's never boring. It's always a wonderful challenge. They are definitely underserved. They are underloved. They are neglected, and they will really just benefit from your shining your unconditional love and light on them. If you do nothing else, you'll make a big difference for them there. We've learned what neurodiversity is and how very common it is. We have learned that there are many, many issues that we can help with coaching and hypnosis, that people who are part of this community are fantastic to work with. They're the best. I love them so much. That psychoeducation, it's important for you to become very, very, very educated on different types of neurodiversity. I think it's also important to say here that it's important to stay in scope. There are some people on that list who I'm not in scope to work with. For example, I mean, I bend a little bit. Like I have a client that I've been working with, a teenager. He is a little out of scope for me, but I take it on a case-by-case basis. He does have some OCD and definitely ADHD, but I'm loving working with him. So I take it on a case-by-case basis, but I'm very, very careful that if somebody is OCD or bipolar, that I get permission I want to be teaming up with their medical professionals. And I don't want to move forward without their permission, because there's very often serious medical conditions involved in that. And I want to make sure that, we don't want to do any harm, right? So yeah, very, very important to get educated about all of these things and to make sure that you have many tools, you have many solutions, and that you are confident and trusting in yourself, that you can trust yourself to help these clients. They need you, they want you, you will help them, and you will feel so fulfilled and so excited when you change somebody's life and you give them a future. So, if you want to learn more about how to do this, I have a program, and you can get on a free call with me to talk about that. I also have a free training. It's here if you want to take a screenshot, or I'm going to put it in, I'm going to put it in the chat so you can link right
drop
up.
it in the chat, and we'll also
Yeah.
put it in the comments on the live, on the replay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So let me grab that. I also have a course, which I'll put both of these things in there, but definitely take advantage of that free training as well. Just copy this in. I'll put it in the chat. And I'm open for questions.
I think it's interesting. I've been doing a little bit of research on this topic, and so when I first started researching it, the information I found was like 1 in 54, and then and this is just in the last week, and then I found another source is 1 in 30, and I believe that it's more like the 1 in 5, if not even more than that, because
I
number
think it's
one,
probably more.
yeah, I mean, really, because like what you said before, I mean, all our brains are different, and we're all on a spectrum of that differenceness. And so, I really think it's just nonsense to think that something is broken or that there's something wrong or anything like that in general, but especially with somebody who has, the gifted, neurodiversity where they are able to like focus on one thing or whatever, like playing piano or singing or art or, numbers or whatever else it is. So,
Well,
I
when
think,
people are different,
yeah.
I mean, I talk about this a lot, that I have a theory that leaders are born, they're not made. That there's a tiny percentage of people that are born to lead, and the rest are followers. and you know, people follow more than they lead. And so, and that's
Totally.
another very empowering thing to say to a neurodiverse person is you're born to lead. You're different. It's hard to be different, but it's great. And you can't conform. You're just, you know, and just embrace it and love it. And yeah, most people are followers and they're going to probably reject you or make fun of you or, you know, try to make themselves feel better because they see that you're different and they somehow, you know, followers feel threatened by that. They're threatened by difference. And that's why we
Yeah.
get a lot of bullying going on. And people use autism now in schools as like a sledgehammer.
Right.
Mhm.
And one of the clients that I mentioned, um, the young man that I was, you know, a little reluctant to take on. I mean, he gets told and asked every day if he's autistic. And it's really, you know, it's like he's not. But it's like really there's a lot of awareness of it now, but there's also people using it as a sledgehammer against others. And there's just like I said, there's a lot of levels. There's a lot of dynamic going on. There's family dynamics that can be really, really tough. There's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of psychoeducation that parents aren't getting. You'd be surprised. So, you know, I work with a lot of families and working with this clientele allows me to really scale my business a lot because I work with the parents and the siblings.
I was going to say, that was going to be my next question was, do you also support, the families? Because,
100%.
sometimes the discovery happens at different times. You don't know when in your life discovery is going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not easy to people who, for example, everybody's different, but you know, a lot of kids who are on the spectrum have meltdowns. Their nervous system just caves. And a lot of people think it's a tantrum or something like that, or they get frustrated. It's not easy when, you know, you're out in a public place and somebody has a meltdown and it's like everybody's staring and then the, you know, the siblings are embarrassed and like there's just a lot of dynamics that go on. And so it is really, really important to support the whole family.
And I'm sure you can relate to this, you know, I don't even know how long it's been, but it's been very recently where this whole concept of what even high functioning autism looks like that people didn't even know. And so I have clients who are, you know, almost 50, who are like, I was literally just diagnosed and this has opened up my whole world.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole concept of what high functioning looks like and having masked their whole life kind of thing. Or the kids, we say kids who are now adults or like going into the world and like, oh wait, adulting is difficult. Why? But because they were never even, it wasn't even aware because they masked
Right.
so
And
well through their schooling. Nobody even said, hey, this person could use some additional support. There's so many things that are going on. So at the same time as it's opening up and people are becoming more aware and people like us with an eye for supporting them, you're saying what's also happening is that bullies have new ammunition,
Ammo, yeah.
which is just heartbreaking. I mean, just, ugh.
so they really, and I'm saying that to tell you that they really need your support,
Yeah,
right? Because
totally.
they're dealing with their own, you know, sensitivities and their whatever issues they're dealing with. And then they've got that. They've got teachers and sometimes there are also situations like I have another client that again, I'm not a therapist and I'm not a neurologist, so I'm not doing any diagnosis, but you know, sometimes I'll go to my girls, you know, and I'll say, hey, what do you think about this? The girls who are on the spectrum and they're like, oh, totally. They'll diagnose it, you know, because they recognize. But sometimes parents will be in denial because they don't want their kids labeled. And then that robs their children of an
Yes.
explanation that it's, you know, they're different. And then let's make turn those differences into superpowers and let's harness them. Masking, I mean, we can change the vocabulary, you know, like I said, instead of saying you're masking, no, you're able to navigate in two worlds. You're
I
cool.
like that.
You're amazing.
Mm,
You know, we
I
always
like
want
that.
to,
that's nice.
you
Yeah.
know, we want to frame everything in a really positive.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I always
affirming
think of
way.
masking as like we're all wearing a mask 99% of the time. Most of us are not actually being our fully authentic self, no matter where we go. We
Very
step into the
exhausting.
yeah, we wear a certain mask. We go into the grocery store. It's a different one than when you sit in front of your client to do the
Yeah,
work.
because I'd be banging a drum and singing, right?
It'd be weird. It'd be really weird.
That'd be weird.
So, so
Yeah.
I don't, but I hear you. But if you think that the word masking is, if by them, it may be like, I've had to mask, like it feels like
Yeah.
a hard thing that they've had to
I mean,
do.
you can frame
That can-
anything in a positive way,
Sure.
but I think
Yeah.
that, or a negative way, but I
But we
think
should
that,
know what they're coming with those
I think
terms.
authenticity is a
Yeah.
huge deal
Yeah,
for
yeah,
mental health, for emotional health,
yeah.
for all of us.
Mhm.
Because yeah, playing that part, and you know, we're all, you're right, we're all living inauthentically, and it is draining and
Exhausting.
exhausting, and it robs the world of these people. These people are a fantastic resource for the world. The
Yeah.
world is not benefiting from their incredible
Yeah.
gifts either.
My daughter was sharing something really, I mean, Nicola and Sue, if you've got, please just hop off, mute. I'm sorry, we could just talk about this all day. My daughter was talking about, oh gosh, if I can remember exactly how she said it, how the neurodiverse people are like the test of society. And if society isn't allowing them to flourish, then it's really doing a disservice to everyone, because there's just that is it's a sign. I can't remember what the term is. She would tell you, and she's right here. She's incredibly educated on this because she's a neurodiverse individual who's got she's just doing the research and really training her mama. She's 24.
That's
by the way.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Does anybody have any questions?
Can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
I find, I don't know where if it's the same all over the world, but in the UK, a lot of people are medicated, and the medication stops you working with them, because in the UK, whatever you go with, the doctor gives you antidepressants. So the majority,
Same here.
are on antidepressants, and I don't think they prescribe Ritalin anymore, but there are other drugs that are given to dampen down those impulsivities, and anti-anxiety meds, and or the comorbidities like epilepsy, and you just can't work with them as much as you know they benefit it, because I'm not
Why?
well, that's what we're just advised, like in the UK, you've got to, well, as you said earlier, get the permission from the doctor and the psychologist to do that, but you do have to do that one extra step.
Yeah, you should. I mean, because you've got to put their needs first. But I mean, many, I mean, it's the same thing here. Everybody's medicated. And yeah, I mean, I just, you know, medication is only one piece of the puzzle. And, you know, I do work with a lot of people. I'm an ADHD coach. So, you know, in that realm, this wasn't about that. This was more of a umbrella. But yeah, I mean, that is something to get educated on as well, medications. But the protocol, and I don't know what the, you know, standard procedure is in the UK, but most people in the US, I shouldn't say most, but many are not, again, that psychoeducation is missing, and they put kids on meds and that's all they do. And they don't give them any coping strategies, any executive function coaching, any therapy of any kind. And that it's got to be the whole picture. They need coaching, they need self-esteem coaching or therapy. You know, if they choose medication, sleep, because there's a lot of issues with sleep with people who are neurodiverse, especially ADHD people. It's got to be a holistic approach, and then it works amazingly. I have a client who's 44 years old. You may have mentioned before, like he's an alcoholic, and he's just self-medicating, and he's on several meds, but he's also working with me, and it's, you know, it's changed his life in every way, you know. So I do work alongside a lot of psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists. I'm like, let's work together.
Yeah, I have a psychiatrist as a local, she considers herself like a wellness psychiatrist. So if my
Yeah.
client who are in scope, because she doesn't take people who are out of scope either. She only takes those who are wanting and growing and, but yeah, we work with alongside allied health professionals. It's just what we do, because
Yeah, we're
I don't want
supporting
to turn
that.
somebody away who could really get some coping skills, and maybe they actually do need that medication for the time to be able to receive.
Yeah, because a lot
Right,
of it
and we're
comes with
not
coexisting.
at liberty. We're not
Nope.
prescribing or advising, and it's none
Definitely
of our,
not.
but
Yep.
it's for me, I would never refuse somebody that was on medication.
Right.
And it depends on what I'm working on with them too, right?
That's a great question, Nicole. I'm glad
It's
you
a
brought
great
it up.
question. Thank you for asking it. Do they, in the UK, are you not allowed to work with somebody that takes any medication? That seems.
You are, there's no regulation, so you are
Oh.
allowed to, but it's just, not a contraindication as such, but it is something to be considered and to get help. And, especially if there's other things like epilepsy, you do have
Oh,
to.
yeah, epilepsy. That's
Yeah. You don't
definitely not something that, but the thing is, I've worked with people with epilepsy, but not using hypnosis.
Yeah.
But confidence coaching. I did a whole workshop for a whole epilepsy organization on confidence and self-esteem, and that was really helpful for them. Just reframing. That's not hypnosis, although technically it is.
Oh,
because-
powerful suggestions.
Yeah, I
With the
mean,
eyes open. That's
right.
awesome.
But no,
And I have another question as well, if that's okay.
Oh, of course.
My son, my 22-year-old son, went to uni and they suggested that he might have ADHD. Now, it's going to take at least 5 or 6 years on a waiting list for him to even get looked at. And he's left uni now, he's left uni for over a year, and he's actually abandoned the diagnosis because he said, well, what's the point now? Because I needed it for when I was in school. But he has not got a diagnosis. And I feel there's an awful lot of people in his circles self-diagnosing from TikTok.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
I
And
said to
also,
my-
but you know what? If it's affecting your life, you don't need a diagnosis to get coaching to help you cope and to have better executive function, better planning, better time management, better self-esteem, better emotional regulation, be in control, feel calm, relaxed, and in control instead of anxious. You don't need a diagnosis to help people do that. They don't need a diagnosis. They have the symptoms. Let's help them. Who cares? We don't need any medical permission. They're coming to us to say, I want to overcome these issues, and we can help them with that. There's also something which I haven't done a lot of research on, but I definitely believe it, that there is a kind of digital autism that's being talked about now, like it develops.
Oh,
So that's another topic.
interesting.
Interesting topic. But it's an addiction, when people are addicted to anything outside of themselves to make themselves feel distracted or feel better or avoid or escape. That's an issue that's limiting their life. That's taking life away from them. And that thing is controlling them. And so we can help them have a better life, period. They don't need a diagnosis.
No.
Now, I
And
will
just-
say that, Nicola, in the United States, having a diagnosis does help open up resources and create some safety nets that he may not need now, right, to address the confidence and be able to function, right? But if for whatever reason life stacks up on top of things and he buckles with it, a diagnosis in the United States would open up funds, would open up different resources to help keep him supported and up. But
That's
like what Melissa said, as far as helping them with the confidence or anxiety or many of the other symptoms, whatever you want to call it, you don't have to have a diagnosis for that.
Well, I also want to say, Nicola, if I may, that on my website, Stop with Melissa, I should put that on here.
Yeah, go ahead. Drop it off everywhere.
There's another website where I have a lot of articles about like what happens when people have untreated ADHD. It affects every aspect. It's not just school. It's relationships, holding down a
Right.
job, they're much more at risk for accidental death.
Mm.
There's a lot of risks involved in not having that addressed. They have higher levels of incarceration. It can really affect your success in life, not just not just school. It's really it's trying to get in the right thing here.
It was his choice not to pursue it. He got so far down the line, and because he was out of education and started working, he just went, "Oh, I'm not going to go to that." And my daughter said, "Well, if that's not a typical ADHD reaction, everybody that doesn't go to their appointment should automatically get the diagnosis."
Right, avoidance, not
Avoidance.
doing things you start. On my website, actually, melissaboherjacobsen.com, there's a section on ADHD and lots of psychoeducation about that on there. And again, I mean, I have ADHD, my whole family has it. My kids have it. I love it. I'm like, hey, the creative people, the movers and shakers of the world, the innovators of the world are these folks. They're super fun to be around, in my opinion. So I like them. Anybody else have any questions?
This
Sue,
was
you've been
great.
awfully quiet over there.
I'm afraid if I start, I won't stop.
Oh, you can always get on
I'm
a call.
curious.
with me.
That's curious.
You can get on a call with me, free consult. I'll answer all your questions. And also you can get that free training.
Thank you.
Do you
Oh,
work
yeah.
with neurodiverse people at the moment?
I'm a counsellor, hypnotherapist, supervisor. But I'm one of those people who was diagnosed in my mid-50s. Private diagnosis, still on this flaming list, waiting for an NHS diagnosis, which I want for that very reason you said. What if my life sort of implodes? I've got something on paper to maybe access certain help then.
Right.
And medication. Without diagnosis, there's no chance of any medication. Not that I'm angling towards medication, but that's me today. You know, I don't know whether one day I might need it. So yeah, but it for me that it made a big difference in understanding, joined a lot of dots, a bit of a relief to find out actually.
Yes, a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
Was this helpful for you today?
Yes, interesting. Yes, and I'm doing a bit of NLP training as well, so it's lovely to see you've got a lot of NLP there. So
Yes.
that's really interesting.
Good, good, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Mm.
Well, I appreciate everyone joining the call, and I hope this has
Me
been
too.
helpful for everyone. And please feel free. We're all colleagues here. Get on a free consult with me. I love to talk to my colleagues. I'm going to put that in here as well. My free consult, meet with Melissa.me in here. And yeah.
We got another one. I'm gonna drop that one in the group too. Awesome.
I think it needs to be like this to get the link. There we go. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, hey, they're all in the Facebook group in the comments too. So
Right.
people will be clicking everything. You'll get lots of good SEO
Go
hits
ahead,
there.
get click happy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa. This is
Yeah.
beautiful. I've already been actually referring clients to you. I'll probably continue to do that forever because I really appreciate what you do.
I love what I
and-
do. I'm always, I'm so passionate, as I said, and I hope to inspire all of you
Yeah.
that this population is so beautiful. And I mean, I get very emotional talking about it because I'm so it's so wonderful and beautiful to help these people.
Yeah. And isn't this what we get to do for a living? What?
I know, we're so
And
lucky.
this is why we're doing what we're doing. Is we want
Yes,
more
life-changing.
more people like you and
Yeah.
Nicola and Sue to help people with these things. This is the power of hypnosis. And
Thank you for joining us on HEA's Hypno Connect. the podcast by the Hypnosis Education Association, a not-for-profit organization serving the hypnosis community since 1998. Proudly sponsored by Hypno Biz in a Box, the all-in-one platform for building a thriving hypnosis practice without burnout. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow, leave a review, and share it with a fellow hypnotist. Ready to grow with a supportive educational community? Join the HEA today and help us spread the word about the nature, uses, and benefits of hypnosis. Visit us at hypnosiseducationassociation.com. And if you're looking to get started, streamline, or scale your hypnosis business, head on over to hypnobizinabox.com, where you'll attract steady clients, generate reliable income, and be supported by a community of like-minded hypnosis professionals. Until next time, find a Hypno Buddy, stay inspired, and stay connected to HEA's Hypno Connect.